Since yesterday, I have been listening to Professor Irfan, and others, and it is quite interesting that to talk about uh, in a very crucial time at the juncture about peace and conflict studies. Uh, as you know, this last 2 days there has been a very interesting observations and debates and discussions on peace and conflict studies. I have been given this task of slightly giving an introduction to conflict and the various uh, theories that cause conflict. So, as you know, conflict is a fact of life, inevitable and often creative. We should not look conflict as a negative aspect. Actually, conflict is a positive aspect. Conflict is creative and a problem solving approach. So, what is conflict? And I will, in a short while, also make a differentiation between conflict and violence. But why conflict in society or between individuals takes place? So, people have different perspective of life and their problems. So, when we talk about that, why people think differently, there are certain aspects to it, why they think differently. So, everybody has a unique history of their own. The socialization process which takes place from the childhood days is different from the individual to individual. A person staying in a city, in an urban space, thinks differently from a person staying in a rural or a tribal area. So each one of us have our own values. We think differently. We behave differently because of the environment and the circumstances in which we are born and brought up. That is exactly why conflict arises. But we should not take this conflict as a negative aspect. This conflict should be treated as a positive aspect, and it is often enriching. So there is a saying that is a very famous saying that if we do not fight with each other, how do we know each other? This is a Chinese saying that unless we don't fight with each other, how do we know each other? So this is what a slight definition of conflict. That conflict is a relationship between two or more parties, individuals or groups who think they have incompatible goals. So why this incompatible goals arises, I have just given you certain ideas or certain methods and why it arises. Because of the socialization process which takes place in different individuals. Violence is something which is direct violence. Actions, thoughts, attitudes, structures in the society creates violence. But conflict is something quite different from violence. So now let us come that this relationship gives goals, values, and aspirations. Incompatibility is indicative of serious disagreement which cannot be resolved through the same resource at the same time. So this gives rise to conflict. But as Professor Irfan was telling, that sometimes it is better to escalate the conflict, to make people understand that actually what is the problem. And that is sometimes which happens, that escalation of conflict takes place. Conflicts can be overt and latent. This aspect of conflict is very important to understand, that some conflicts are overt, we can see it, but some conflicts are latent, which is hidden or beneath the surface, but that is a more dangerous form of conflict, which is actually hidden in the surface. So unless we have major problems and disruptions, we do not pay much attention to the conflicts around us. So this problem arises because there is the people involved in it are completely thinking that there is some problem which has to be resolved or transformed. Unless these major problems and disruptions, the conflict thus promotes much needed change in the social and political, economic and cultural and educational institutions and in the systems. Unless we don't have these differences of opinion, this cannot be solved. And this is something very enriching and creative in the process and problem solving. Conflict is neither inherently negative or positive also. Sometimes we can say that this inevitable is a common fact of life. So now let's come to, this is just a general introduction about conflict. Now let's come to about the theories about the causes of conflict for which I have been assigned to deal with. So conflict arises from multiple sets of factors and causes. In the society where people stay together, people having difference of opinion, people are born and brought up in different environment, cultures, attitudes, urban, rural. So this is the way that we think about. So causes of conflict could be divided in a broad category into two parts: approximate and underlying. Approximate conflicts are immediate triggers of a conflict, which underlying cause are long-term and deep-rooted causes of conflict. This deep-rooted causes of conflict, which is underlying, is the main source of conflict, which should be dealt with. For a sustainable peace building effort, it is critical to address the underlying causes of conflict. Now let's come to the first three important aspects which causes conflict. First is the economic resources which are not met in reality. So as you know, as the economist will say you, that resources are always scarce and there are a lot of people to use it. So the scarce resources and economic resources are not fairly distributed also. Some countries are benefited with more resources with less population. Some countries are having more population with less resources. So millions of people in India, and when globalization took place in India, millions of people got benefited, but many of them were also left out. So that creates some kind of a conflict in society. So access to economic resources is one of the main causes of conflict. Second is basically the security aspect, safety, security aspect. If we are not secure, that is one where conflict is created. Then comes respect, when people are humiliated. Participation in social and political life is violated. When violated, leads to conflict. So the second aspect is security, respect, and participation. These three important things, if they are not equally met, distributed in common in society, that creates conflict in society. And the third and the most important aspect is identity. Identity is one of the most important cause of conflict. Culture, religious values, and other important sets of needs of human beings. Several identity-based conflicts across the world. In India, we can say caste conflict, religious conflict. In America and in the West, it is about the color conflict, which we see recently in America. What happened looking at the black and white problems there, racial conflicts, ethnic conflicts. So these are some of the identity conflicts which takes place. Theoretical explanation underlining causes of conflict focus on the nature versus the nurture debate. So whether conflict and violence is located in the genes of human beings or it is a product of socio-cultural condition, the debate is unending. I will discuss these two in detail about whether conflict is inherent in our genes or whether it is a product of socio-cultural or circumstances or the environment in which we are born and brought up. Now let's come to the human nature theory of conflict. In the first human nature theory, conflict and violence are inherent in human beings. It is something which is there in our genes. This theory has been rejected by many scientists. In Seville in 1980, there was a big conference organized by UNESCO. They said that we cannot say that why all human beings are aggressive or why some are aggressive, some are not aggressive. So this question of conflict is there in our genes, that can be challenged. But some aspects of it are there because it is the human beings which the aggressive behavior sometimes create conflict. We have to look into that. Aggressive human behavior is natural in the sense that this theory has been given by Hobbes, Machiavelli, and the great psychologist Sigmund Freud. Hobbes believed that human nature is selfish by nature and that humanity is constantly thirsty for power. And Sigmund Freud argued that aggression is inherent in humans. It is aggression that helps human beings to protect themselves and increase their existence. So this is basically the first aspect which I want to deal with about the human nature and conflict. The second is the agency-based psychoanalytical theory, which argues that differentiation among human beings at the early age. We are born as male and female. We are born as poor and rich. We are born as urban and rural. This differentiation brings the self and the other manifest itself in the needs of the enemy. So as human beings, we are always need the other so that we can distinguish ourselves from them. This is another reason for conflict to happen in society. The third is the socio-psychological approach is of the view that human group formation and differentiation between groups play a role in decision making, especially the role of images, stereotyping, prejudices, misconceptions, and dehumanization. These are some of the reasons why conflict takes place in society. And lastly, I talk about the psychocultural approach uh, in this aspect, that see conflict behavior in terms of perception and images and external worlds shared by cultures. So it is basically that some cultures are more conflictual in nature than other cultures. Why these takes place? This can be viewed from the point of view that how cultures have developed over a period of time. So this aspect talks about human nature and conflict. Now let's come to that whether conflict is a societal condition. It is the circumstances, the environment, the society which gives conflict, not the human nature. Conflict occurs in human interactions. It takes place within the context of family, community, and society. When interests and needs of individuals or groups are not met by the family, society, they use force to change the social and familial norms, thus leading to conflict. Therefore, socio-structural theories argue that expression of conflict is dependent on the factors outside individual, externalism, and not inside, aggression, not inherent. So this is the some aspects of society organized in hierarchies. This is one of the reasons why conflict takes place, because every society is hierarchical in nature. There is hardly any society you will find which is not hierarchical, divided into layers. Structural theories emphasize that the way society is organized creates conditions for conflict. Unjust social structures play an important role in the creation and in the perpetuations of social conflicts, for they favor some groups, people, communities over others. This leads to violent conflicts. So the family setting, the culture, and the symbolic modeling, the three primary sources of human aggression. Social learnings from the childhood of human beings takes place within the family, the peer groups, the schools, and the neighborhood and society at large. Children learn their behavior. It's a learned behavior. Children of such familial are likely to get conflicts over the period of time. American psychologists have made a lot of research on this, and they're of the opinion that child abuses creates violent personalities from childhood days. Now let's come to the culture, or the subculture is an important source of social learning. Subcultures where aggressiveness is valued as an attribute and likely to produce high rates of aggression behavior. However, he believes that there are a lot of people who believe, psychologists who believe, that violent subcultures are not necessarily end up in violent conflicts. Now let's come to the third aspect of this, is the symbolic resources such as televisions these days, social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram. These are some of the major sources of social learning, especially in the youth. Visuals from these medium mainly pertaining to violence and the power to impact on others. So this is basically the societal learnings divided into three: human behavior, family, culture, and symbolic interactionism. Now let's come to another aspect of theory of conflict, is the human needs theory of the causes of conflict. John Burton, one of the pioneers of peace and conflict studies, is of the opinion that basic human needs, when they are not met, is one of the main reasons of conflict. Needs in this context mainly refers to the human needs requirements for the continuation and propagation of life, and these are the means are material, food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, employment, freedom from want, cultural rights to religion, language, social needs, respect and dignity, freedom from fear. These are some of the aspects of need theory. Moreover, the need for society safety and security is also an important need. Protracted social conflict thus can be resolved only by satisfying these basic needs. When these basic needs are not met, it creates conflict. Gandhi was also of the opinion that structural denial of human needs results in unsatisfied and creates conflict in society. Some critical social theorists, mainly feminist, post-structuralists, give importance to social discourse. Our language and social practices give rise to exclusive identities such as us versus them, insider versus outsider. This is another reason for conflict. It would be I will go to the next aspect of conflict, that is called Karl Marx. He is a person who said that the economic structure is the base and superstructure which organized in the society. This class conflict theory, he maintains that social structures reflect the material reality of society. Economic determinism dominates over the politics in the development of historical materialism. Marx believed that those who control the means of production also control the social structures. Since capitalism, what he was talking about, controls the means of production, they also wield power over the social structures. These capitalists always are unjust towards the working class, and conflict will ultimately take place in the form of a revolution when these working class people revolt against the capitalists. This is the Marxian analysis of conflict. Another modern Marxian, Antonio Gramsci, who wrote a very famous book called The Prison Notebooks. He was an Italian. He is a neo-Marxist, and he rejected the emphasis on economic determinism of Marx and replaced it by the ideological hegemony. Control over means of production coupled with the ideas that are propagated by the ruling class serves their interest. Ideological hegemony encompasses values, attitudes, beliefs, and cultural norms and legal precepts. When this ideological hegemony of the class is challenged by the masses, it gives rise to conflict. So this is the Marxian analysis of Johann, father of peace and conflict study, mathematician, and he was the person who started the concept of peace and conflict studies as an academic discipline. He says that he gave this idea of a conflict triangle, the ABC conflict triangle: attitude, behavior, and context.
I think we lost him.
Yeah, so maybe
Just try calling him.
yeah.
Rejoin.
Okay. Maybe network is not there. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Would request participants to stay online. In the meanwhile, we'll try connecting him.
Unmute him. Okay. Yeah.
So, and this structural theory of conflict given by Galtung is one of the biggest contribution. And then he says about the cultural conflict. So he says that in some cultures, conflict is basically inherent in the culture, and why conflict takes place in that culture, because we accept those cultures as something which is we from the tradition and from down from ages we are doing it, so we are accepting as, and this creates conflict. That is called the cultural conflict. So before I end, I will introduce a new kind of conflict that is called environmental conflict. These days, the environment is one of the biggest source of conflict. Here we are talking about war without enemies. The environment problem or the global warming and climate change which has taken place in the last 25-30 years has created a conflict, and the enemy is nowhere else. We are ourselves the enemies of the environment, and the environment is now striking back. So another theory and cause of conflict is the environment. So these are some of the theoretical aspects of causes of conflict. I think I was able to satisfy my viewers by giving some of the sources of conflict and some theoretical aspect of conflict. There is 2-3 minutes left. Can I ask some questions? If you want, we can ask some questions.
Yes. Question, Krishna, please ask question. Is there any question?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Christy
Yes.
is raising his hand.
I just wanted to get clarified.
Yeah.
With the human needs theory,
Yeah.
whether unmet needs will lead to conflict. I think we have to somewhere distinguish between disagreement and conflict. In my opinion, I think unmet needs can best be a starting point of conflict. If you can slightly elaborate on that, please.
Yeah, you see, the problem is that these are all traditional notions of conflict. So in the society where the resources are scarce, obviously in every society, the resources are scarce. So once the resources are scarce, the needs of the society cannot be met equally. So the society is a stratified society. Some gets better resources and their needs are better satisfied. Some, but the basic needs theory, which John Burton had advanced, that minimum freedom from fear, freedom from want, these are the basic things which has to be looked into, minimum, or else there will be real problem. Because you see, as the World Bank says that less than $2, there are more than 3 billion people in the world who earn less than $2 a day. So that is basically the needs for which we cannot look into. So once these needs are not fulfilled, so that will be having a deep rooted and inherent conflict with the society which takes place. I think in these modern contexts, this theory has to be like revisited and re-polished, what we are talking about. But this is the starting point of any kind of conflict in the society.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next, Prabha Pandey. Yeah. Suraj, kindly unmute Prabha Pandey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Sorry.
have.
Now,
Prabhaji,
yeah.
please.
So we are in the middle of an environmental conflict right now.
Yeah.
There is a group, Seva Coast, which is opposed to the coastal road, right?
So, yeah.
So now, if you say it is a war without enemies, how do we prevent them from destroying our coastline? Because they are going ahead, and now the sea is fighting back, as you said, and it has come over the coastline and over the barricades, and it is onto the land. So the sea is in the land, and we are reclaiming the sea. So this,
Yeah,
is,
that is the
this is a
issue.
major conflict. This is a
Yeah.
major conflict. How do we resolve it? Because the damage is being done right now.
Yeah.
And then resolution of the conflict will take time. By the time everything will be destroyed. So
Yeah.
how the area, sorry, but the areas are not defined. Who owns the environment?
Oh.
Okay, isn't it a shared legacy which nobody owns?
These are all
or
global commons. The environment is a global common for all of us. So it all depends upon, you are talking about the reclaiming of the sea and making a coastal road.
yes,
Yeah, you see, that is the problem. The problem is that there is a demand for development. So the debate is that whether development can be done looking at the environment, or how do we do it? What is the middle point between environment development debate? Development has to be done, but since the environment is coming into the way, there are lots of uh, projects in the world where the environment is taken into account and the development is done. So there is a ministry in India which gives the environmental clearance for these things, but still the problem arises sometimes that the ministry overlooks many things. So who is going to be blamed? It is actually the environment. We are the enemies of the environment ourselves.
yes.
It is, yeah, that is what the entire debate of development and environment is on this. It's the environment for development. So this never-ending debate is still going on, but still when there is a demand for development, people need jobs, people need development for their betterment of life. This debate, Prabhaji, I think, going on, and we can have a win-win situation, but that is a difficult aspect to achieve. How can we have a win-win situation with the environment? If that is possible, then that is the best thing we can look for.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please, please.
If we nail the ownership issue,
Yeah,
who owns the environment? Who owns the mountains? Who owns the forest? Who owns the sea? Who owns the rivers? They are ours. They belong to the people, right? Like you said, the commons.
Yeah.
So then that has to be followed by everybody. Everyone should respect that, including these ministries which run the government
Yeah.
and which run our lives, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
then
that
that's a
is the,
conflict. That's
yeah,
why
that is
they
the
never.
conflict. That is how the conflict generates. And
Yeah.
here we cannot blame the other, because the environment is not a human being or not an entity. It is just the environment. It is, we have to
Correct.
blame ourselves, because we are the people who are actually exploiting the environment for our own good. That is the
So-
problem where it lies. Yeah.
So we have to resolve it among ourselves.
Okay, yeah, that is it.
That is it, right? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there other question? No, I hope not.
Miss, no, there are two more questions. Miss
Okay.
More, go ahead.
Yeah, please.
And then after her, Joshi.
Yeah.
Audible? Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
please.
Thank you very much, sir. I don't know. I feel that conflict and me go hand in hand. I don't know why. Since the time I have been born, I think I have been living with a notion that where people cannot see things, I am able to see things. So I have a very tough life wherever we are, personal, professional, social, because I question the authority. I tell my community people that when you pass a fatwa or whatever other things are there, why is it that I have to follow your fatwa? So you said conflicts are good,
Yeah.
but I've been written off from very many places. Of course, it doesn't make any damn difference to my life. I'm happy the way I am. I don't want to change for anybody. But let me tell you, sir, that I bear the brunt of this not agreeing with people on majority of issues. And I have been clinging to the edge for a very long time. And when I look at your lectures, it gives me double bloodshot saying that, you're doing good. You're doing nice. You need to raise questions. You need to
So
ask questions. New education
basically-
policy, when I gave a lecture
Okay.
to my students,
Yeah.
most of them said you are anti-government. And I said, no, I am friendly. I am people friendly. So that is the problem. Tell me, should I keep on my fight going on, or shall I?
Yeah. You see, basically you should agree. We should all agree to disagree.
Okay.
Okay, you see, that is the challenge. You see, unless you see anything you come up with and something new, there will be pros and cons. There will be positive and negative aspects. It doesn't mean that there can only be positive aspect to it. The new education policy of the environmental problems, there are lots of challenges which we have to look into. They can be looked at in a different perspective from your challenges, from your disagreement.
Yes.
which is there. We can add something new to it. That doesn't mean it's the ultimate, it's ultimate
Okay.
thing, and that has to be
So
improved.
the problem is the moment you question the authority, they become so defensive, saying that
Oh.
"Humne jo keh diya, that is the final." I don't know why.
That is not the attitude. That is not the attitude. You see, the problem is that you cannot say that this is the end of thing, and the ultimate.
Anyway,
That is the problem.
it was a nice talking to you, and it just gave me some hope that I can cling on to my.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you
We
so
need
much.
people like you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
There's one question from Rudra Joshi, and the last question will be from Rachel. I will just read the Rachel's questions. Her question
Yeah.
is, what is the connection between the dominant social group and their aggression? Does it stems from needs? The other question is from Rudra. I will unmute him. He can ask straight.
Yeah.
What's the-
Please.
Good evening, sir.
Good
So
evening.
my question is that the the lady who was talking about the mountains and all that
Yeah.
we should
sea
declare
and the
whose
mountain.
property the nature is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that's this human nature ki
That is
आप
human
जब
nature. You
भी
see. You see. The
yes
point
sir
is
कि
that
sir
you always
अपने
try to acquire. Human nature is basically to acquire the goodies of life.
yes sir
In India, we have this old tradition of aprarigya, non-possession. Once you have that attitude of non-possession, can you survive with the minimum of the minimum? That is the challenge.
no sir that's the human nature that we want more
More,
we
yeah,
want more
that is
than
the problem.
that
That
what
is the
we
problem.
have.
That is the problem. So unless we
And so by
don't,
that, even if we declare that, sir, ki, that country possesses all the mountains and no one has right for it. So,
yeah,
so that will
the,
lead to
the
an bigger
conflict
conflict.
starts there. That is where the conflict starts. That is what one of the theories
Yes,
of
sir.
conflict, like the basic needs theory. That is where the problem starts. There's some countries, they say that we will have everything, like America, or the way the American lifestyle. There's so much waste is there. That is the problem.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any more questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Hemant, is it over?
Yes, sir. Yeah, yes,
Oh,
sir.
thank you, Hemant.
Thank you.
I again thank the organizers, Hemant and Irfan ji, for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. And it was a pleasure giving my lecture. Thank you.
Thank you.